Please help support the channel and purchase PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds at the affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and Google lately has come across as this really authoritative, just kind of censor of content to some extent about what can be monetized. And as a result of that, it's impacting a lot of people and how they do business, myself included. But over here at this conservative rag called the Liberty Conservative, they've been hit with something that is a little bit scary, because they were contacted by Google and told to remove an article that violated their AdSense policy. And if they didn't do it, they were going to lose their AdSense on the website. And since that's how many of these publications, again, myself included, will, we earn a living, it's definitely a frightening scenario. So it says here that Google issues ultimatum to the Liberty Conservative: censor your content or lose all ad revenue. And that is definitely a frightening headline, right? It makes you kind of clench the butthole a little bit if you are a person who talks about independent media and you're conservative, so on and so forth. So it says here, yesterday morning, we received a bizarre letter from Google issuing us an ultimatum. Either we were to remove a particular article or see all of our ad revenues choked off in an instant. This is the newest method that Big Brother is using to enforce thought control. Former Liberty Conservative contributor James Allsup was involved in the Charlottesville VA Unite the Right rally turned riot that served as a catalyst for this drive of Orwellian censorship. Although the article itself contained no offensive content, it was merely distinguishing the many differences between the alt-right and literal Nazis. Just the fact that it was authored by a man who deemed to be an unperson by the corporate elite was enough for Google to target the censorship. And that's true. They've deleted the article. I've actually was able to pull it out from a cache from when it came out in 2016. And it just says here that if you call the alt-right Nazi white supremacists, you're wrong. And the whole article is just about the difference between, white supremacists, white Nazis, and race realists. That's it. I read the article. It's not bad at all in terms of that kind of content that Google would freak out about. But it is probably due to the fact that it was written by James Allsup here, is why they wanted it taken down. And that is a problem. That's frightening to me. That's frightening me because the context of the article, content is king, context is God, should be called into question for everything. But given how they've been lately, ever since the James Darmour thing popped up, and hell, even before that, it's been getting a little bit frightening to talk about certain issues online, because they try to prohibit you from earning a living on them, and then that kind of keeps you from doing it, which is one of the reasons why fan-funded outlets right now are probably going to be what keeps a lot of independent media alive. I mean, lest everyone wants there to be the Young Turks. Nobody wants that. The entirety of Google's letter addressed to us is as followed. Notice how the descriptors for what violates the terms of service are deliberately vague and open to interpretation, giving Google an excuse to target any website or individual they choose for any reason. For some reason, the image wasn't attached in the website. I was able to find it again through using a Google archive. Saying here, hello, this is a warning message to alert you that there's an action required to bring your AdSense account into compliance with our AdSense program policies. We provided additional details below, along with the actions to be taken on your part. And it says here that the example page where the violation occurred was the call alt-right Nazi white supremacists, you're wrong, which is the one I pointed out earlier from James Allsup. Action required. Please make changes immediately to your site to follow AdSense program policies. Saying here that as stated in our program policies, Google ads may not be placed on content that content that threatens or advocates harms on oneself or others, which the article clearly did not do. Harasses, intimidates, or bullies an individual or group of individuals, that article clearly did not do. Incites hatred against, promotes discrimination of, or disparages an individual or group on the basis of race or ethnic origin, religion, disability, nationality, veteran status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other characteristics that are associated with systemic discrimination or marginalization, which is probably what they're arguing with that article. But again, all that article did is discuss the difference between race realists, white supremacists, and white nationalists. The fact that they're three separate tribes underneath the whatever banner right now, but they all have different ideologies and different goals. And that's what it was. Again, it's not promoting one or the other. but yet somehow they're being linked to that, which is actually pretty scary because, again, there's context there, and that context is not being discussed. So it says here, if you do not need to contact us if you make changes. Please be aware if additional violations are accrued, ad serving may be disabled on the website listed above. You should immediately take time to review your pages with Google Ads to ensure they always comply with our policies. Additionally, please be aware that the URL above is an example and that the same violations may exist on other pages of this website and other sites that you own. To reduce the likelihood of future warnings from us, we suggest that you review all of your sites for compliance, and here are some useful resources, blah, 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 blah. So the content here, saying or else or whatever, I again, that's a very vague, hyperbolic statement. It is pointing to one specific page that did not have any, infringing content on it. It was talking about the differences. It was educational. But then again, given the particular commentary that's been coming out recently, ever since Charlottesville, it again boils down to that kind of that real quick overreaction, similar to what happened with Dylan Roof when he was shown in a photo with a Confederate flag. And then the next day, all of a sudden, all Confederate flags were like pulled off store shelves and people were calling to make it illegal to buy. That kind of overreaction, that's probably what came out of this. James Alsop is a person who was at the Unite the Right rally, who has been, I think, labeled as a white supremacist, even though he claims he's not. And that article was not promoting race realism, white nationalism, or white supremacy. It was just discussing their differences. As I said, it was educational, for information purposes. But that's apparently causing the problem here. So it also says here, this is not the first time we have been censored. In the past, Facebook banned users for sharing content immediately after they posted our controversial article criticizing a libertarian Washington, D.C. think tank official who denigrated Ron Paul. This is, however, the first time we've been directly threatened, as we would be cut off if we refuse to censor our content. That's not really what they said. Yes, they were overbearing in that regard, but they didn't say that. I know they're trying to play the card for effect right now. I get that, and I am sympathetic, but I also really hate in these moments when it's always like the hyperbole train comes out. It's like, just let it roll. Slow your roll for a second. Like, just calm your tits. Calm your tits. Calm your tits. Chill out a second, and then just, look, you're gonna have to be careful. We all have to be careful, and everything else. But again, if they've done it to no one, if they haven't done it to any other web page on your or article on your site, then at this point you can't really make that claim, which is the truth here. And so it goes on to say that due to financial constraints, we had to comply with Google's strong-arming tactics for the time being. An independent publisher such as a Liberty Conservative needs revenue from the Google ad platform in order to survive. We look forward to the day when rival ad platforms who respect the intellectual freedom of their customers can outcompete Google, but those days have not arrived yet. These tech companies have us all by the short hairs, and post-Charlottesville, they are all working in unison to enforce the Orwellian nightmare. No one is safe, or nobody is safe. And I agree again with like half of that. I think you're safe to an extent. I think some like the Daily Stormer getting pulled off and forced into the underground. That was definitely one of those attacks on it. Even the guy who runs GoDaddy was like, I just woke up in the morning, decided I didn't want him anymore. So, there's those elements at play. But I agree, there needs to be an alternative, ad revenue source for these websites, and for what I do as well on YouTube. It'd be very nice if they could outcompete, but in the meantime, we don't have that yet. That's why fan funding, viewer funding, listener funding, that's going to be the next phase of this, because they might start strong arming. My problem here is, again, the hyperbolic nature of what they're saying here. I get they're frustrated, but it's also like, calm the rhetoric a little bit, because it's not helping. And the rest of the article just goes off about more of an Orwellian nightmare, and it's really not prudent to the story at hand. That being said, I am sympathetic to the Liberty Conservative. I don't want to see any of your articles taken down by having that kind of guillotine held over your head if you don't comply to what Google suggests or demands as being the right kind of content. They know that different content serves different people. It seems to me that it was targeted directly for probably who wrote the article versus anything else. And if you have anything else from James Alsop on your site, you might want to take this as a time to archive it and then remove it. That being said, the way things are with Google right now, I'm not too sure if they're going to get any better. But the last thing we need to I guess you could say, submit ourselves to is the hyperbolic rhetoric that some of the content in this article was trying to espouse. There are problems, but the best course of action would be trying to get your fans to support you because they want to, and not trying to, evoke the Orwellian term in order to further promote fear. It was a BS move, and you should have just, found a way to counter it and talk to them. I understand why you didn't. I'm not going to sit there and criticize you. I would have done the exact same thing. But at this point, you should be looking forward instead of, pushing the hyperbolic side of things, because it's not going to yield you the results you want. That is, unless you are trying to push that particular brand of fear. Well, gang, that wraps up this video. Be sure to leave your thoughts below in the comments, as I love to read them. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, links below in the video description. We have Patreon, PayPal, Amazon affiliate in the beginning of the video, as well as Bitcoin now. During the apocalypse, anything helps. I greatly appreciate it.